Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to this week's episode with Soul Conversation. And I have a beautiful human being from the other side of the world in US, um, in Utah.
Yes.
Danielle, welcome
Thank
to
you.
our conversation today.
Thank you. I'm Danniel Worthen Cullumber. I'm a trauma therapist. I call myself a holistic trauma therapist because I'm the founder and CEO of Willow Medela Wellness here in the United States. We're bridging the gap on trauma care, healing, and the whole person by integrating um, paranormal, unseen things, the psychic, the medium, whoever you are, and what you've actually experienced in part of your process without the stigma of a diagnosis or label.
I love that. And I want to shout out to Luana as well from Dauntless PR, who
Yeah,
emailed me about you, and then we connected, and it feels like I've known you forever and ever.
thank you. It's been a pleasure.
So can we start a little bit? Let's go back in time. Who were you when you were a child? And you can pick and choose the age you desire to.
When I was a child, I had an active imagination. I actually had imaginary friends like everybody else, but I didn't realize that I may have been already having my first paranormal experiences
Wow.
because there's a story of my mother telling me that I spent a week sleepwalking and staying in her
Yeah.
room, and she kept asking me why I won't stay. I kept saying the man wouldn't leave me alone. And it wasn't until later that I would see a picture uh, at a family gathering, and I was like, I know that person. And they
Yeah.
didn't realize the time that uh, I was looking at my grandfather who'd been passed away 2 years before I was born, and they're like, "There's no way," because he's dead, and they didn't know that the relationship connection. But when I got older, I was like, going, "Dad, what? That's the same picture I saw when I was a little kid." Because that's my dad. And so I'm assuming that the person that was bothering me, as I
Yeah.
said, was my grandfather, because my grandfather actually leaves me dimes. Because when I was older, I had a conversation with him like, "Hey, you leave dad dimes. I think you kind of owe me." And he's pretty cheeky too. So we've had a lot of fun with that. But I would see like imaginary small not creatures, but like cartoon figures, like
Yeah.
inches high. Back in the day when I Dream of Jeannie was a show, she would shrink down to fit in her bottle, and she'd sit on sit on the desk of her master.
Yeah.
I started seeing them that big. I like characters of Scooby Doo and the gang, and her.
Yeah.
Jeannie would sit on my desk in school. I got called out for daydreaming. They're like, "What do you daydream about?" I'm like, "To be a teacher." I was actually asking her what the answers for the questions on the test were, and I would get them right
Wow.
without studying.
Wow.
So I was a little cheeky kid,
Yeah.
and I had an active imagination. Did live far from a cemetery, and I'd be walking down the street, and somebody called Danielle, and I go, "What?" And there would be nobody there, and I didn't know at the time that these were like my early gifts until I was in my late teens when I started having precog dreams, and things started happening as I dreamt them. And they were always from like first person. Like if I was looking at you, I couldn't see anything behind. But since then, the gifts got stronger and better. But I was a closeted psychic medium,
Oh,
and and I went to school to be a doctor,
yeah.
and I had a learning disability. I done undiagnosed ADHD, dyslexia, and dyscalculia. And I was navigating a system that was not created for people like me, or other people, in fact. And so I had to learn hands-on the skills and then go back to school to get the license, the education, the diplomas. And I'm currently in my last couple semesters of my doctorate program at Simmons University in Boston, Massachusetts. So I'm doing all my doctorate online, and well,
Yeah.
running a business and doing this and meeting people, wonderful people like you and your guests.
I love it. I love it. But would you say were you ever scared Like, were you scared when you started in the beginning,
You know,
to have?
I actually started more in junior high. I started
Mm,
reading books, and I was like, because I was fascinated with the paranormal,
yeah,
because I couldn't read. I literally was illiterate by the time I was in 5th, 6th grade. And
yeah.
thankfully, my parents were like, you're going to sit down, learn how to read. I started reading Reader's Digest, and I tuned to a story of the Titanic, and I was transported there. I don't know if it was my gifts or my sense of energy from it. I was
Mm,
hooked. And all of a sudden, I found a way to read
mm,
with this disability. I couldn't spell.
yeah,
And I was reading books on Dracula, witches, ghosts,
yeah.
all the paranormal stuff. But in junior high, I was going, how would I meet a ghost?
Mm,
Ooh, be careful what you wish for. So when I was 15, I was actually attacked once. And I had the paralysis. The thing was on me. I had to banish it away. I had to use my
yeah.
skills as I was like, it traumatized me, I'll be honest. And then it
Mm,
wasn't until I was adult, years later, I was watching a ghost film, and they were recording the dark energy, and I
mm,
started shaking. I go, "That's what I saw. That's what I saw." I was like total trauma rocking moment. And then as I was getting older and meeting new people, because I went into the care facilities with people with geriatrics, elderly, those with disabilities, I was realizing I was experiencing their energy through
mm,
their reality, their experiences. And I was like, we're all having trauma responses from our gifts and our sensitivity.
mm.
And there had to be more. So I start
Yeah,
asking questions. So, yeah, I've been scared, but
yeah.
not to the degree that other people have in their experiences. I think I more jump scare myself. If you don't know what a jump scare is, where you're watching something and then it does something and you get startled just because of the anticipation.
Yeah,
I've been scared by a bush in the shadows
yeah.
because
But
I
I
can't
also,
sense it. I'm just looking through my normal eyes, not my extra senses.
yeah, but like you say, I think every guest I've had on that are like in tune with their psychic gifts have had scarcity around it when they were a child because
Yeah,
they didn't know. Like they weren't
right.
taught that this is okay, this is kind of normal, whatever you say is normal. But I
I
mean,
think I
yeah.
was more scared as an adult when I watched my own children have gifts,
Mm,
and I couldn't try to explain it to them more than what I knew.
yeah.
And I think what broke open was knowing my gifts was when Chip Coffey brought out his show Psychic Kids.
Yeah.
And I was learning from these children that the things that I was experiencing individually was actually real. I was like,
Mm,
wait a minute, wait, that wasn't just me.
yeah.
And uh and and then I did more research. I mean, I found out Chip Coffey used to be a social worker back in the day. So it's like my background is social work, but I am a trauma therapist. It's amazing what I've experienced when I've gone into people's homes and they don't know I have gifts. Or I've
Yeah.
gone into care facilities where I had to tell the spirits, like, hey, I'm trying to work here and you're not helping the situation. It got to the point where I'd walk in and the energy is like, she's here. And they just split. They're like, because when it comes down to it, I talk with respect to those who've crossed over.
Yeah.
Because to me, yeah, the paranormal shows are great. They've been educating. However, it's still a show.
Mm,
And I was finding that if I was poked all the time as a human on
mm,
this side, like, oh, saying dance, monkey dance, like perform, I'd be really irritated too. So I've
mm.
so I've talked to even those tough energies,
Yeah.
and it's like going, this is my space. I'm not doing anything to push you out.
Mm,
Let me just coexist in the same area.
mm.
And it usually works. People,
Yeah.
people and spirits just want to be heard and respected. It's very simple. You think it'd be simple, but as humans, we don't respect each other on this side. How would we on the other side?
Yeah, sure, sure. And would you say, I think my, like, the audience is, some of them are pretty awake and some are in the beginning and they are curious. So for someone who hasn't yet, I would say, experienced their own powers, whatever that is, what would you like to say to them? Like, maybe they will say, am I crazy, or
Oh, so
whatever.
it's very interesting because that is that noise that we hear in our head, not the external noise that we hear, may be spirit or anything else. When I say spirit, that could be anything on the other side because it kind of is a nice, safe bubble umbrellas term
Mm,
for me to use. But when they're like opening up, I go, you're still a human. You have
mm,
an human experience,
yeah.
and you're going to have impacted by your day to day, besides the extraordinary things that you're observing or experiencing, it can still cause a traumatic experience. And
Mm,
you will still have the anxiety, you'll still have the depression, you may have PTSD.
mm,
Well, you don't have to have PTSD to experience a negative experience, but it stays with us. And we get
mm,
stuck in that story looping. And what I would suggest to your listeners is, um, be able to work with yourself, have a healthy relationship with yourself first, because everything else will align vibrationally with that. And
mm,
find a safe space to have a conversation.
yeah.
And that's where it is. It's about safety,
Mm,
because when we start learning our gifts, we get exciting. We get a
yeah.
dopamine high.
Yeah.
There, I totally get that. Or it could be the total opposite, total scare, and you shut down your gifts. But you still have other gifts that aren't may not be the paranormal or psychic. You may
Exactly.
be
Yeah.
a savant on writing. You may be good at music. Do the baby steps and
Mm,
practice,
mm,
but also check in to make sure you're doing it correctly and safely. Now, remember, everybody has an opinion. So check everybody and see what aligns with yourself. Sylvia Brown, when I was first learning my gifts, it literally was
mm,
I was reading, and her first book I read was her dream dictionary, because
mm,
as I said, I was precog. I was
mm,
getting dream interpretations all the time, and the first thing she wrote in it was, "Take what you want and leave the rest." And I just felt this relief.
mm,
And I tell my clients the same thing, and I'm going to tell your listeners, take what you want and leave the rest, because maybe down the road that information may work for you, but right now this is where you're at. And
yeah.
be compassionate that you're in your where you are, because somebody's new beginning might actually be uh, a higher power version of my beginning, where I think I'm
Mm.
like really good, and they just start. I'm like, whoa, be respectful. It's not a race. It's not a
No,
competition.
it's
Because
not the competition. I love that. Yeah.
we really kind of do this nitpicking where I want to do that. Oh, I wish I could do that. Well, I'm going to say, be careful what you wish for. You might get it, but
Mm,
not in the way you think. And that's one of the things I had learned as a child, that if I wanted something, I would crave it like energy. Um, you can pull it in. But the
mm,
problem with energy, it's not a problem, actually. I'm going to say that. Let me clean that up a little. Is vibrationally, our body doesn't know a good stimuli or a bad stimuli. And that's
mm,
also with our energy that we put out and pull in.
mm.
We might have the best intentions, but we might attract not something so aligned for us.
Yeah.
So if you keep looping on, I want, I want, I want, you keep resetting the clock almost. Instead of saying, I want, I'm going, I'm doing, or I'm exploring, or
Yeah.
I'm learning. Because being the present is the important part, because everyone wants to future jump all the time, what they want in the future. But if you can stay present to the now, that's when
Mm,
you get the observations. That's where we get to learn how our body responds to the energies that you're learning, to even how you respond to day-to-day things.
Yeah.
It impacts everything. So
It
ground
does.
yourself, whatever that is. It could be taking a bath to putting your feet in the sand. Some people have plants, they'll just touch the plant and they'll be like, I'm good. My cats, they work overtime with me.
Yeah. Mine as well. Yeah, but I love that. I mean, the baby steps, because I think when I started to discover my channeling with the collective, it was overwhelming. And it was also human trafficking and sex child trafficking at once. Like,
You get a
so
dump load of information and you're like,
yeah,
what do I do with this?
yes, it was exactly that. I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And I screamed in a pillow because it was not my, how can I say, it was all the children's scream through me. So it was intense. And I remember back then, this is a few years ago, I was concerned about the neighbors. So I screamed in the pillow like a reflex to just do that. And then I talked to a friend of mine, and she was like, okay, this is what's going on, take it easy. And she started to kind of, calm me. Everything is exactly what it's meant to. You're okay.
Yeah. What's interesting is those, I'm going to stereotype the labeling here, okay, on psychic or medium, okay. So let's say psychic, okay, and we're trying to predict. Some people can't read for themselves. It is just because we're too close to the situation and everything, and that's true. But there's still ways for you to channel into things that support you, because that's why you always have to have your safe people that you talk with. Also, don't keep you looping in the trauma story or narrative, because it's just reaffirming that identity or prospect. Like, people are, I am a demonologist. Okay, if that's a skill that you have, great. Or I only deal with ghost children, great. But look at what's safe, but also what can expand your skill. But I kind of did a tangent there, but what we need to know is that safe piece with the conversation. We need to be vetted. We need that validation. We're still human.
Yeah.
Even as a clinician, a mental health person, and with all my gifts, I still go to my people, my friends, and I'm like going, okay, what spirit's saying that because I'm so busy in my head that I'm not hearing, or am I projecting onto somebody that's not true? I want to be called out for my blind spots, because I'm still human. And that is kind of like people say shadow work. Well, shadow work sounds scary, but it's actually, if you soften it, if you take the yin yang symbol, we need the light with the dark and the dark with the light. It's a balancing. And that's our own reflection with somebody. And when you can have a conversation in a safe place with somebody, they're like, I had one of my friends say, hey, Spirit was like, hey, Danielle, we still need to give you some surprises, so we can't tell you everything. I was like, okay. My spirit guides are being cheeky. I'm like, okay. Call me out. Because it's fun to know, but we can sabotage our progress if we know too much as well.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah, because if you think
can you share, elaborate that one?
I'm going to elaborate. So if anyone is able to see this as a video, okay, and we're only getting that snapshot within that box.
Yeah.
We don't know what's outside. We don't know what's above. We don't know what's below. You can't see behind my head, but you can see when I move. That's our gift. Sometimes we're getting a snapshot of a puzzle piece to a bigger picture. And they're only going to give us what we are observing. And based on our references, our life experiences, and our knowledge, we are going to already come up with an opinion and a theory and a feeling related to that. And we'll attach onto it. And we're like, but that's what I saw. That's what I said. No. It's like, okay, we need to wait till we get more of a clear lens. Maybe we need to pivot and look another way. Maybe we're being guided like, you're on the right path, but it goes to this point, and spirit goes, wait, you got, of course, we need to detour over here because you need this cool experience, or you can meet this cool, neat person. But yeah, you feel this, that disappointment. But it's okay. It's, you can have the grief or the disappointment, but sometimes there's a saying, when they close the door or a window, it's open an opportunity to something else that you don't even suspect, because it can't be on your radar. You still need to enjoy life and experience these moments, good or bad. It's what you come out on the other side that you do with it. My life hasn't been easy, but it's led me to talking to you and your listeners. How exciting and insightful. I mean, I didn't plan on getting a doctorate, and then Telesper was like, you're going to go get your doctor. I'm like, what? The first school I looked up, this was the school I went to. It was an Ivy League school on the East Coast here in the United States. I'm on the West Coast area, well, Midwest. And it threw me back that I could actually have this, because I doubted, because I had those disabilities, and I was navigating a system that wasn't made for a person, let alone gifted. And I'm like, wait, sometimes you're the trailblazer or the pathfinder or the guide to help somebody else. And I've helped many of my clients and friends, and that's why I'm here. It's going, even if you don't connect with me personally, but vibrationally, something aligns and shifts in you, then it did its job. It did its thing. Yeah. And that's what it's about.
Love that. And also what you were sharing, to be compassionate with yourself. And from my perspective, I think it's kind of it's been baby steps, and then I open up more and more. And so I feel like, so my nervous system and my body could actually receive more, like that I was balancing, from within.
It's funny because even, and here's a thing that's very interesting is we have patterns, right? One of my gifts is I can follow this thread line. I can see the beginning, the end. It's usually the in between that gets distorted, so I have to follow it to. I'm like, there's the picture. So they'll give me like these puzzle pieces, because it's just how my brain understands things. But with these baby steps, to a baby, that's a huge step, and our nervous system gets so dysregulated. But back to the pattern is, I'll have people go, why am I going through this again? I did this. I'm like, well, let's think about it this way. This is the universe or spirit or whatever is saying, now that you learned from the original thing, they're giving you a chance to have a test drive with the new skills you have, or that awareness. So you can actually step forward and go, wait a minute, I am doing better. It's your own references. You could be really good with manifesting money, doing your bank accounts, and then all of a sudden things bottom out. And a friend of mine called it, and I'm going to quote her, she's booty clenching moment. And she's like, you're in a booty clenching moment. I'm like, okay. And that was something I had. And then I came on the other side. I'm like, okay, it was just recalibrating my nervous system, because I was going to be dealing with bigger and harder things than I was used to. And when I had another reference, I was like, I was breathing, because I was like, oh my gosh, I've already passed the booty clenching moment. I don't have to go through that again. Even though this seems a little heavier, it's a lot easier and cleaner in the experience. And it doesn't take my energy away from what I needed to do. So yes, we calibrate our nervous system. And that's where the trauma comes in, is learning how to ground, using coping skills, even the ones you learned from online, to your therapist, to your counselor, to your guru, to yourself guru. You're your own guru too. You get to sit and breathe. You get to do what aligns to your energy field, your rituals. That is where you recalibrate, because you're going back into yourself. You're going into the calmness. In fact, one of the things I created some unique coping skills. I was going, hey, these mudras, I didn't even know they were mudras. Like I said, I learned skills before I got the education.
Yeah.
I lived experience, and I was like, oh, there's a name for this.
Yeah. I'm
I
the
did it
similar.
backwards. I said I do
Yeah.
things backwards. It's like because I can see things in reflection, reverse, because my brain doesn't know the difference. Hence the dyslexia and things like that. I can read things backwards. It just comes easy for me.
Yeah.
But that's also how I learned that these things that people were doing, I was like, what if we put them together? I was like,
Yeah.
well, apparently we get a lot of bang for our buck. And I was like, wait, one of the things I know about humans, and because I'm human, I'm basing the references, we want a quick relief. We want it now, and we can't wait for it now. So it's like, okay, well, what about coping skills? They say, let's breathe for a minute. I'm like, with my ADHD brain, if I had to breathe for a whole minute looking at a clock, I've already checked out. I'm not listening to spirit. I'm not present with myself. So I was like, what if I could break it up into something simpler? So I test piloted it with a bunch of my clients, and I created coping skills that could be as quick as less than 20 seconds. And I say less than 20 seconds because I count fast.
Yeah.
It's not true 20 seconds, but I say at least 20 seconds. And if I do 3 of them, that's a full minute. No one said I had to do it in one full stint. But my body starts to regulate because we start conditioning, and that's our thing. It's kind of like people who will grab their necklace or their crystal, their stone, and they breathe and they do their thing. We're channeling into our nervous system, we're channeling into our energy, and we're realigning things, we're recalibrating, so we can step into the next phase of what we were anticipating and being prepared for.
Yeah. Love it. And would you say, I want to go into a little bit how you work right now, and if you would say that your purpose and mission has reshaped a little bit or not, maybe, or
Yes.
maybe been more clear, or whatever you use for it.
It has, because what's interesting is, as a child, I was at a Halloween party when I don't even know what age I was. I think I was probably in about 10, 12, between 10 and 12. That's all I remember. And there was this fortune teller, and I think it was part of the whole thing because it's Halloween, right? I don't know if the person was a real fortune teller or not. And she read my palm. And I had always known since I was in 4th grade, I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician, a child's doctor, because I've had surgeries and they helped. And she goes, oh, you're going to be a doctor. And I go, yeah. And she goes, you're going to be a heart doctor. I'm like, no, I'm not. I argued with her. That's one thing I have found, that when you have your gifts, you always argue when you have this expectation. And I laugh because, oh my gosh, I didn't realize at the time when I said, no, I'm going to be a brain doctor. Because I thought surgeons were, because it fascinated the brain. Didn't realize I am still becoming that doctor, but I've been the doctor of the heart and of the mind. And
that's beautiful.
We only know what we understand in that moment. So my purpose has been reshaped consistently. I'm going to bring Luana into this conversation with Dauntless PR because Spirit, I think, aligned the situation, because I had started school and she reached out to me and she goes, what is your brand? And I'm like, what's a brand? She asked a question and I had to pause, and I go, and she waited for me so I can contact with her. And I was like, and Spirit was like, you're doing this. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, so what do I do now? And now Spirit goes, now you start your practice. And I'm like, and I'm in school. Oh boy. Okay. And I have had to trust the unfolding in the process, and it's not been easy. But I also have to realize that I'm learning how to do things that's supposed to be aligned for now. If I started a practice years ago, I'd be trying to reinvent the whole thing with what I am aware of now.
Mm.
I'm in the process of writing a book. I've been trying to write a book since I was 14, but it wasn't that I wasn't ready for the book. It was I knew that I needed certain information that I knew needed to be communicated and
Mm.
expressed and shared. And now there's so much information, I just need to narrow it down. It's so
Yeah.
exciting that I can say I had all this experience and information, but I had no idea where it was going to lead me into the present.
Yeah.
And I still have ideas what's going to happen in the future, but the spirit's like, and some of your listeners may not understand this reference, but they go, chill your roll, girl, chill your roll, because we're like going, we got you, we got you. Even when I've had trauma happen in my life, I'm like, why did that happen? It hurt. And spirit's like, because certain things had to happen for you to see these things, be aware, because now then I can step into more compassion. It goes back to that compassion.
Yeah.
It takes out that guilt and shame, because you can't be held accountable for how you responded. So many people go, I would have done this or that. No, you wouldn't, because you weren't in that position or that space. You can have the best intentions, and that's where you have to trust who you are as a person and messages. Now, we know that sometimes there is spirits, I'm going to say spirits, that are negative, it will try to trick us. That's hard, and that's where you have to use your own discernment.
Yeah.
I don't even know if discernment's a gift or not, but we have choice, and that is one of the things where our references and our life experiences help. So you and a lot of times when spirit even pushes me to do that, I'm like, I have to take a deep breath. Even me saying that, I have to take a deep breath, because there's so much coming forward, and I don't have a reference for it. It's scary.
And I love that you choose discernment. Last year, that was my word, kind of.
Oh.
But I didn't know it from the beginning of 2025. At the end, I was like, discernment. That's exactly what that year for me was, to anchor in, like what's true for me, and not because when you talked about being compassionate, for me it's been a journey of like kind of in a repetitive, like remind myself to be compassionate with myself, because there is so much, it's been so much noise, and there's kind of also I believe, like in the kind of spiritual communities, there's sometimes an energy of competitions.
Yeah, that's why I go back to the competition.
Like guru, I don't like gurus. I think
that's why I said you your own guru. That's why I did the quotation.
Exactly.
Or shaman, or you know what?
Exactly.
Even my husband, Nganga Meshapishu, he goes by his indigenous name. He actually originally identified as a witch, but when as he's done his work, he actually realized he was a medicine man, because he was going into his indigenous roots, listening to his ancestors, listening to his spirit guides, and I've literally had the opportunity to be the observer of his journey without interfering, and him teaching me, and we have different experiences, and we get to put the information together, get a bigger picture. Just like I said, we have this box, but now we have a bigger access to certain things, and that's why you have to have your safe people. But the competition is real, and that was some of the problems that we find with the spiritual community. And we're not shaming the spiritual community, because we're human, but we don't know that we're actually doing a disservice to ourselves and to others when we do that. And you may start a community, a tribe, whatever, a cauldron, a coven, whatever, your friends, but we accidentally leave people out. We bring them in until it doesn't fit our mold, and we may have all the good intentions. That's why we have to keep going in with the relationship with ourselves, because we're the one that's going to be held accountable and self-checking ourselves. Because if we can't be whole or respectful and love ourselves, no matter the interaction we do with people or spirit, it's not going to be clean and it's not going to align. I keep laughing because the camera keeps changing colors on my side. I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but the
No,
energy
yeah.
is just throbbing because they're like, oh, people are hearing this.
Yeah.
They or people have been hearing this already, and this is just validating. And I'm just if I'm here just validating that through my
Mm.
words that spirits wanting me to allow you to that, please take it. And if it aligns, if it doesn't, leave the rest.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it's amazing that a lot of times when I'm in these conversations, I don't know if I'm picking up the energy from my own thoughts or if it's something that I'm validating for somebody. I've been accused of reading people's minds and I'm not aware of it. I don't think I'm that good. But um, because we are a collective, we
Yeah.
all have access to that information. And that's
Mm.
another thing to remember is if you have curiosity, you have a question. Well, there's not an answer until there's a question or availability to vibrate that request or that sound or that alignment. Because even our voice is
Mm.
an energy. Because frequency is that
Yeah.
light, sound, stimuli, other realms. We can touch it, we can smell it, we can sense it. I mean, we can feel the polarities in the solar system. I mean, some of us are that hyper aware or hyper aroused because if you're hyper aroused, you might also be in trauma too. Learning how to, I'm going to say, you know how people learned how to serve? Well, I've never
Mm.
learned how to serve, but I had to learn to get my energetic sea legs or feet
Mm.
or my hands or my head, depending on how what I need to step into or what that's outside of my control. Because what's outside
Mm.
my control is what I'm going to leave
Mm.
to what it needs to do. I'm not going to mess with it because it has to do its thing. We are science has laws, energy has laws. It's just what it is. We've proven that. But at like, but we can mold it. It's malleable, and that's what we are. We're malleable in our experience, in our awarenesses, in our healing, in our journey, in our future, and also our references to our past and our ancestors because they
Yeah.
did groundwork for many of our things. Carl Jung, he's a Freudian, and he talked about dreams. Like I was going to school, I'm like, there's a theorist that talks about dreams, not just uh, disturbing things. It's like cell memory.
Mm.
We glean from those experiences in
Yeah.
our environments, and we get that permission slip to utilize it if we want to or not, or just leave a handprint for the next generation to help make them stronger
Mm.
or be more self-aware to avoid something too.
It's beautiful. I was also thinking about when you talked about frequencies. And on the screen right now, we have blue,
Mm-hmm.
and I never have that. Like it's other times it's always like pink and like the sky when it's kind of rainbow
Yeah.
colors, like all. And now I was like, oh, this is so interesting. It's blue today with you, and for me, it's the throat chakra.
I was gonna say, it's like, is it aligning with the aura and chakras and what the message needs to be?
Yep, I think so. I mean, that's what's coming through for me. I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful because I would
Well,
never pick
I
blue.
love looking at synchronicity. I love looking at synchronicities, like numbers.
Yeah,
Some people call them angel numbers. Some people like here's this will blow your mind, people.
yeah.
You like numbers? My birthday is 11/11. I
Oh
am
yes, you have
the
like my
wishing
love.
number. I didn't even know my birthday was a wishing number. I used to say I could wish for. I said, be careful what you wish for. I now say it's my birthday. Wish all day long, and
Yeah,
if you don't use military time, you have an 11/11 twice a day if you look at it. But I also saw that I would get 11 tens or tens or 11s. I looked up those numbers. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at those random numbers because if you see something, and I call it a ping where you like acknowledge it, tune in. I Google things consistently because I'm like, even though I know what 2 2s are and 4 4s and the ones, sometimes in that moment, whatever pops up on my phone when I look it up is the information I need because it's in
Yeah.
line. I have to silence my phone all the time because I had a friend that was just having a conversation. She had gifts, and she's like, "Your phone talks." I go, "I know." It just it's like it's the confirmation. Like, yeah, quiet phone. I know. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for validating me. I appreciate it. I'm a Scorpio. I like the ego. I gotta admit
Yeah.
that. But I'm also uh, truthful in that I'm calm. I'm an introvert. I'm also an extrovert.
Yeah.
But I learned to balance the worlds. I had a friend say that I'm a hybrid. I can do the matrix world and the metaphysical world. I balance these things and the spiritual world. And sometimes my vibration goes so high that when I come back down, I'm like, okay, I gotta get back in my body. Give me the numbers. I gotta go back into the brain, the executive function, and also when I go into the the flight or freeze mode too, because the stimuli and the adrenalines, I have to work with them like anybody else, and that's
Yeah.
also when I'm in spirit too, because I'm still receiving information, and I am still having human experience at the same time. That's why I have to go in, how compassionate with how I'm responding, or I'm a little off, or I have to integrate or need some downtime so I can bounce back up because I'm meeting people all the time. I have to be present for them, and I have to be present for myself.
Yeah. I love that. And I think this is something that everyone can be pay more attention to,
Yeah.
because
It's
there's, I mean, can be a lot of it. Like right now they're cleaning behind me. I'm sitting at my favorite hotel. It's been so much noise, but still it's up to me to like, okay, they're doing their thing. I'm
yeah.
focusing on you.
It's funny how there's so many people talking at us all the time, even on networks and syndications and radios and podcasts and editorials. People are always talking at somebody. We are talking with you. We're talking together, and we're talking to your listeners. We're not
Yeah.
talking at them, and we're having an actual conversation.
Mm.
That is important because communication is it is a highway, but there's a lot, as you said, a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Um, my husband was explaining how we were talking about how everyone can be a medium. Well, his brain was looking at it as like a highway, and there's always that medium lane where you can turn. Sometimes you need to use it, turn around. Sometimes we stay in pause. Well, just like our gifts, we all can be mediums or psychics because we all have gifts. It's just
Yeah.
what we do with that map or what access we're using and how safe you feel in it. Sometimes we just have to sit and just watch what everybody else is doing so we know what we're up against and what we can do or maybe think we could do and just
Yeah.
try. But remember, you still have the brakes. You also have the key. You can turn off the ignition and still not do anything and have all those experiences that you need at the same time.
Mm. I want to add something
Yeah.
before you're going to share how people can reach you, but to also be very compassionate if you have a friend or sister or brother out there that are right now discovering and experiencing kind of the first
Awakenings.
powers,
Yeah.
awakenings, whatever that is. And maybe you have had a lot of your gifts like unfolding, but to be so compassionate about holding space, just listen, because you were once there. I think this is really important because when I before was very much from a trauma response of had to prove myself,
Oh.
I used the spiritual, like kind of, no, but I'm here. Like I'm a little bit not better, but this kind of, oh, I don't like this energy, but I was there. Kind of what you say in English when you are kind of on top of the, like, high horses or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's actually a good, yes, that's
Yeah.
what we've seen here in the States too.
So, and that's not, and but I was called out every time, so I get kicked down.
And that goes to the ego. People are always like,
Mhm,
let's kill the ego. Well,
mhm,
the ego is there to also keep us in check. And that's part of our discernment. It's like sometimes we have to have a reference of a higher perspective because we're going to bottom out eventually.
mm,
There's always an and there's always this and that and an and in between. So we have the
mm,
black and white, and we have all these grays, and we
mm,
forget there's all these gray references, because if you pendulum swing too far to the right, it's going to snap to an equal to the other side, because it has to balance out. And that's why
mm.
self-checking with yourself, because it is a dance. It
Yeah,
is a frequency. It is a thing that you're working with. You're working with yourself.
yeah,
That's the thing. How many times do we not take care of ourselves? And we just take, now medication's fine if it's pharmaceutical appropriate and everything, or we self-medicate or something because we can't handle what we're feeling or experience or reality. Let's also think it's the same thing with our gifts, our powers, our practices, because it can become a crutch that's not healthy.
mm,
It becomes a coping mechanism, that a coping skill can be healthy until it's no longer. And that's the thing. So being high is not a bad thing. That's why we do the compassion, because you're experiencing a reference, because you're going to also have the other side of that reference too.
yeah,
You're going to be tired. You're going to be lethargic. You're going to be moody. You might have attachments. I don't know. Also, know that cutting cords, educate yourself that cutting cords is also another trauma. You can actually let go of a trauma response by just acknowledging and have a conversation with it. It will just untangle itself. People are
mm,
not aware of this because we're learning from everybody else, because that is the end thing. That's the vocabulary. That is what's being schooled in
mm,
the collective, in the present. But we know that there's more.
yeah,
So that's why I say check in with yourself. If it aligns, fine, beautiful. It may not align with anybody else, and that is okay.
yeah.
That is your right to have a voice to yes, a no, and maybe a pause
Mm.
and a wait.
Thank you so much. So,
You're
how can
welcome.
people reach you the best way?
Yes.
Mm,
So you can find me on looking at my name, Danniel Worthen Cullumber. My name spelled with like Daniel, but with two N's.
yep,
And also look me up online at Willow Medela Wellness. Medela spelled Medela. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm putting on my YouTube channel shortly with all of the podcasts I've been doing. I'm doing reels. You'll find me. Just
yep.
look me up. I'll pop up.
I love that. And for everyone's been listening, if you have any questions or reflections or want to share your stories, you can email or on social media, but we love to know, both
Yeah.
of us.
And also, I realized that I can tell people my WhatsApp number, which is 801 906 3802. I'm in the United States, so you might have to dial a 1 before the
Yeah.
801, just for reference. But yeah, you can reach out to me on WhatsApp as well. You can message me and we'll have a chat. Even if you don't become a client, I love to have these conversations, because this is who I am and this is my love. And that's why it's been aligning so well.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you
been
for
an
your time.
absolute, I don't know. I feel so blessed that
Thank
I've gotten to know you. Thank you so much, Danniel.
Thank you for
And
your
thank you.
time. Thanks again,
Yeah.
everyone, for listening.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.